Hello, my name is Alia Salem, and I'm the Executive Director for the Council on American Islamic Relations here in Dallas-Fort Worth.
And my name is Cecil Collier, and I'm the President of the Friends of Cobb Park, and also a Fort Worth IPAC member.
We had some really important questions that we needed answered, especially with regards to all the things that have been happening across the country and here at home.
And we figured the best way to do that was to go straight to the top. And in the following video, you'll hear questions asked by citizens across the community at Chief Halstead to get answers to those exact questions.
Chief Halstead, I'd like to know what the Fort Worth Police Department has done to improve communications, outreach, and transparency to the LGBT community since the Rainbow Lounge incident.
I think one of the most important things we did was early on, we went to a table and we talked about concerns, and some of these were angry conversations. And when we finally, we as a police department and as a police culture, when we understood our cultures within Fort Worth and the communities that we were not connected with, we saw a giant void in our service capacity as well as our professionalism. But the most important thing was we were an active member of the diversity task force, making sure that we learned what a host of issues were within the GLBT community and really becoming an active partner. It's different to sit at a table and to listen to someone than to sit at a table and start engaging with them in a plan. And that was really, really important within that first year. So making ourselves available, making ourselves an active member of the community, and then we had to work collectively as partners to say, we need to do more. And the first was to assign a liaison to the community. As an organization, we had a lot to learn. We didn't understand about how when someone is going through maybe a transition from male to female, how should we respond to them on a traffic stop? What does it mean when we go to the home of two men who are legally married and they have a family violence case? We needed training on our end, and most importantly, we needed to make sure that we completed our training first in the city. And if you think about it, the biggest department in the entire city, and we had a goal of finishing our training first. And the majority of our officers had a desire to learn because they agreed with me. There was a void. There was a disconnect. We learned from it, and then we vowed as a community, never let it happen again. And then today, these service and communication efforts has expanded. We're actually volunteering at your church. So we have walk-up services that are available. We have partnerships and friendships and events we do every year so that we maintain communication. And we also have our community advisory board, where we speak openly and directly to every community in our city who has an active voice at the table with the police department. Our best preparation for a future crisis is the relationships and the communications we share today. And I think we learned that in June of 2009.
Well, Chief, I did some personal research and I reached out to Taser International. And with Taser International, they stated that Fort Worth Police Department has the most body cams than any other police agency in the nation, and about 617 body cams. So how are they being used, and what has been the results about these with these body cams?
Well, that's a great question, and let me explain why I'm so passionate about this. My biggest nightmares being chief of police were incidents where I would have prayed to have a camera on that police officer dealing with that particular use of force issue or a community struggle or a bad traffic stop. But there were no cameras, and it pained our community. It hurt us, and it hurt our relationships. But also I have to go back to when I was a teenager and I was profiled and I was pulled out of my car and thrown to the ground by a Fort Lauderdale police officer, and he threatened to kill me in front of my best friend, all because I had dark skin, long hair, and I was driving a fancy car, and he thought I was a drug dealer. I was profiled back then, and I had a distinct distrust, almost hatred for law enforcement. And from that day forward, I realized that we need an independent view of all of these contacts and conversations, because it's one side against another, and that video is key. So I've been very passionate about on-officer camera systems because our citizens deserve 100% transparency in this police profession. They deserve it, and I'm glad they're demanding it, because we need to step up to the plate and make it happen. I've taught this class to many chiefs of police across the nation, and yes, we, as a secret, we actually have 630. I got some extras just in case. Some of them may need to come down for repairs or inspection or some change-outs, so I wanted a little bit extra. Today, we have 275 cameras that are deployed, because it's a fairly extensive class to receive the technology. It's very expensive technology, but also on how they store the evidence. We store all of our videos at evidence.com, and we probably have over 21,000 videos that are on the cloud server. The reason that's important is it is 100%, it's impossible to alter the video. No chief of police, no district attorney, no citizen, not even a hacker can get into this iCloud type of service and alter any of the evidence we have stored up there. And that's really important moving forward, because where would we be as an organization if evidence was altered prior to a trial? And our community needs to understand that that video is 100% true and accurate. The goal is, since December 13th of 2013, that was the first graduating police academy class, 100% of the police officers will have a camera for the rest of their career. Every police graduating class from this day forward will have a on-officer camera system called Axon Flex. What's most important is the remaining ones we have in stock, which is about 350. We have training classes every month, so more officers are getting these cameras. Now, who gets the camera and who doesn't is a giant question. Two trains of thought that we are going here in the Fort Worth Police Department. We're taking our youngest officer, meaning the youngest time in their career, and we're mandating they get issued a camera immediately. The reason is, in the first 3 to 5 years, you have the highest propensity to get into a volatile confrontation, a police shooting, a pursuit that could be challenging for the organization, or a strained incident involved with hurting our community relations. It's probably going to happen within your first 1 to 5 years. So we're getting all of those officers first, and at the same time, we're evaluating how many times an officer deploys all of the uses of force we carry. And we're going to study those officers' trends of dealing with the community. And if they deploy a lot of force and has no history of complaints, that's probably not a great candidate. But if they deploy a lot of force and they're a very active police officer and there's a lot of misconduct complaints, they're going to get a camera. So our goal is the community understands, yes, we are a technology leader in this, but not for long. Cities like Cleveland and San Diego and LA and New York are going to start aggressively having this technology, because they are understanding this is policing of the future, and it is the best way to keep your profession transparent, especially to your critics.
Chief, my second question is, what is the police force doing about recruiting a diverse police force?
Well, this is a challenge a lot of my peers are facing, not just in Texas, but across the United States. We are competing with the private sector for a lot of great talent. Where we are not meeting our goal is 10 years ago, we didn't consider this a priority, and we lost some of our recruiting efforts, meaning we want the diversity of your community exactly matching the diversity of your police department. That's perfect policing right there. But in Fort Worth, we don't have that yet. We are in dire need of females in this profession, Hispanic females, people who are bilingual, African American, male and female. So we changed our recruiting strategy 3 years ago. The most important change was we quadrupled their travel budget, and we specifically gave them the open goal of going to historic black colleges and universities, as well as what we consider density-rich college environments and the military installations. So we went to a lot of these around the country, not just in neighboring states with Texas, because we're competing with Dallas and Austin and San Antonio and Houston. So we travel as far west as Los Angeles and San Diego and Phoenix, and then we go as far east as New Jersey and Brooklyn, New York. And we're going to colleges that have an extremely high diverse population, And they were finding out that this is working for us. That change took 2 years, and then December 13th, 2013, we had the largest police graduating class that I've seen in almost 6 years, but the most diverse class as well. We have a long way to go in meeting our diversity norms here within the organization, but thankfully we have community partners, an increased travel budget, and a great recruiting plan that is showing the fruits of our investment, and we're actually getting more diverse officers in the police academy.
Chief Halstead, my community and I would like to know what the Fort Worth PD is doing to mitigate the fear and the anger that's sweeping the nation and here at home, especially regarding race relations.
Well, I think, quite honestly, all of us in law enforcement aren't doing enough. I think we can see right now across the country that police profession has its work cut out for them. Mm-hmm. But what I'm happy about here in Fort Worth is we made it a specific focus to look at our community, to look at the diversity of our community, and to look at where we see service gaps and directly contact and learn and train with those community leaders. Specifically, our Multiculturalism Steering Committee got together where we actually took police officers and community leaders from the Muslim community, as well as African American and Hispanic and our GLBT community, and we actually put unlike partners together. So it might be a Hispanic officer that's working directly with a Muslim leader, and we really wanted to share and engage more collectively. We wanted to talk about our police profession and our service expectations and what goes on within our community, specifically with investigating crimes, hate crimes, but looking at areas where we can increase our service and really strengthen those partnerships. What we're seeing now across the country, I feel, and this is strictly my personal opinion, things have not gotten better. You can take video from the past 2 weeks and compare them to video from the 50s and 60s. Mm. They look the same. Mm. So we are not doing something right, and we got to figure that out. And here in Fort Worth, we're partnering with the people to help us make it better. And until police agencies understand that those gaps in service and gaps in relationships, that's where you need to focus your energy. That's where you need to focus your training. And we have made it a conscious effort to begin taking our police recruits to a mosque, to some historical locations within Fort Worth. We want our new generation of police officers to understand this is the complexity of our community, which is rich for our city. And we need to make sure that we keep them engaged with this profession. Our desire is that those relationships and partnerships are so strong and so understanding that a minor incident does not become a major incident. That minor incident is resolved from our stakeholders in the police department as well as the community.
Chief Halstead, with all of the coverage that the media is doing regarding immigration issues, we the community would like to know how the police department is reaching out to the immigrant community, and number two, how you're training your officers with regard to what they can do and what they can ask members of the immigrant community.
Well, that's a question that is filled with a lot of information that seems to be real volatile all across the country. And it also is a very political question. So let me cover the most important thing first. We actually made it a policy here in the Fort Worth Police Department. We call it a bias-based policing policy. We made this almost 3.5 years ago, where it's against the policy for a Fort Worth police officer to change their service delivery or their enforcement of any of the laws or city ordinances, meaning they cannot change it based on a person's race. We actually have had an officer that has done this, and we've conducted training with other officers that changed their enforcement strategy because they were dealing with some people within our Hispanic community. Whether or not they were legal residents or not was not the issue. It was that the officer's mindset changed. And we have to train our officers better. But we also have to have a lot of outreach programs and a trusted relationship within the community. So we have an officer that works in the chief's office that is our Hispanic community liaison, and Officer Segura does an extensive campaign of Citizen Police Academy, Hispanic training boards. He's also involved in the social media world, so we have a Hispanic Facebook. And the reason that's important is because we could have significant language barriers within our community, but they need to know that there are people within the police department that can talk to them. So on some of our vehicles, you will actually have a magnet that says, this police officer speaks Spanish. And we want our residents to feel comfortable that when they see a police car and there is a magnet on the side telling them in Spanish, they can ask that officer any question whatsoever. But I also want to make sure, when I said it's a very political issue, we are a bipartisan profession, meaning we do not take sides in this type of an issue when it becomes a very heated debate. And we notice that every time there's an election coming up, this becomes a heated debate. And I know that there is a concern in the community that they're afraid that police officers are looking for them, are targeting them. We do not do that here in Fort Worth. In fact, that is a federal law that's enforced by federal officers. And we made it clear in our policy application that it's against policy for them to inquire about the residency status, but there's a change in that policy if it's post-arrest, meaning if that citizen has been arrested, we then can ask about residency status, because it will change the intake process here within when someone goes to jail and there's formal charges presented. So if someone is simply shopping for groceries and an officer asks them if they are documented or not, that's wrong. That should never happen, and we need to know about that immediately. Could be a training issue within our department, but we will also look if it's a misconduct issue, because we simply won't tolerate that. But if someone has been arrested, say a family member was arrested for an outstanding warrant, in the arrest intake process, it's a question we have to ask. And it's not because there's additional charges, we just have to ask if they're a resident or not. Do you have another follow-up question for that?
I don't. Thank you so much for that answer.
You're welcome.
We hope you found that video helpful and informative, and that it answered some of the questions and concerns that you yourself might have. For more information, you can visit fortworthpd.com. That's fortworthpd.com. Also, if you'd like information regarding training for race relations and racial justice, please know that there is a conference coming up in November 13th through the 15th in Dallas. It's called Facing Race, and it's held by an organization called Race Forward to promote racial justice and equality in our communities across the country.
And while we're talking about education and community awareness, the Friends of Cobb Park will be hosting the Cobb Fest 2014 at Cobb Park, located at 2600 Cobb Park. On that day, we'll be holding family food and fun, all kinds of events happening from 12 to 8. Come out and join us as we practice a day of healing and a day of literacy, and also a day of getting this information to carry this conversation further. Thank you for watching this video. I'm Cecil Collier.
And I'm Alia Salem. Have a great day.